A dog and his owner were both getting up there in years. They were best friends and they lived together in an old folks' home. The man was 87 and the dog was 14. At their age, it can be difficult to find things to do for fun. But one day, this old man had a brilliant idea. He decided that he and his dog would become therapy animals. So they went to a local hospital to spread some joy, and people were so happy about it. Therapy dogs are typically trained to help people with mental or physical disabilities. They go to schools, hospitals, and nursing homes to provide comfort to those who need it. The dog must have good manners and be friendly to people. Most of all, they must be patient because they will be surrounded by people with special needs. The old man named Chester went to the hospital with his Jack Russell Terrier named Tucker. He knew that they would make a great team. He felt that the staff and patients could use some cheering up. Chester had adopted Tucker 4 years earlier from an animal shelter. Since then, they'd been inseparable. But no one could have guessed what they were planning. Chester walked into the hospital lobby and sat down on a chair next to his dog. People stared at him as he took off his jacket and put it on the dog. He then approached the front desk and asked if he could talk to someone in charge. A young woman smiled politely and told him she'd be right back. She called over her colleague and introduced them. "This is our new therapy dog, Tucker." Chester said, "I want to sign us up to visit patients." The two women burst out laughing. "Oh, that's cute. And who's going to visit who?" One of them said with a big smile. Then Chester repeated, "We would like to be therapy animals here." The ladies stopped laughing and stared at each other. They looked back at the old man, and then at his dog. Finally, one of them spoke. "Are you serious? You want to be therapy animals?" she asked. Chester nodded. "Yes, we do. Listen," the woman replied. "You're too old to start training now. It's not fair to the patients either." "Sorry, but we can't accept you." Chester felt his heart sink. All he wanted to do was help people, but he understood that it wouldn't be easy. However, he wasn't giving up. As he turned to leave, he heard the woman say something to her colleague. She was explaining that the dog didn't look healthy. Her colleague simply shook her head and agreed. Chester felt a surge of anger. His dog was perfectly fine. Just because he was older didn't mean he couldn't help people. At that moment, Tucker whined and licked his owner's hand. Chester bent down and scratched behind his ears. He then stood up and looked the lady straight in the eyes. "We'll show you what we can do," he said determinedly. The lady raised an eyebrow. "Okay, let's see what you got," she said with a smirk. Chester and Tucker walked slowly down the hallway to the elevators. The lady followed them, still smirking. As soon as the doors opened, the first thing she saw was a group of children staring at the dog. "Wow, it's a real-life dog," one of them said excitedly. Another child added, "It's so fluffy." A third one said, "Can I pet it, please?" Chester smiled. This was just the beginning. He and Tucker visited every ward they could until it was time to go home. The children were delighted to have a dog to play with, and the staff were equally excited. It was clear to everyone that Chester and Tucker had a gift for bringing joy to others. When they left the hospital, the ladies from the front desk were waiting for them. "We were wrong," one of them said sheepishly. "You're both officially therapy animals," Chester smiled. He knew he and his dog had a lot more visits to make. Every week, he took Tucker to the hospital to bring joy to patients and staff alike. The dog loved it because he got lots of treats and belly rubs. Chester also enjoyed seeing how happy his dog made people. One day, while visiting a pediatric ward, Chester noticed a little girl sitting alone in a corner. He approached her and asked what was wrong. "No one comes to see me," she said with a sniffle. Chester sat down next to her and asked, "Would you like to meet a dog?" The girl wiped away her tears and nodded. "Really? Can I pet it?" "Of course," Chester replied. He whistled and Tucker came running over. The girl was overjoyed when the dog licked her hand. She asked if she could take him for a walk, and he agreed. Soon they were all three strolling down the hospital hallway together. The girl's face lit up with happiness. When it was time to say goodbye, she gave Tucker a big hug. "Thank you for making me feel better," she said. "Anytime," Chester replied. "That's what we're here for." From that day forward, the girl always looked forward to Chester and Tucker's weekly visits. She knew that they would bring her some much-needed joy. Meanwhile, Chester and Tucker continued making the rounds at the hospital, cheering up patients and staff alike. They became such a beloved duo that the hospital held an annual pause for a cause event in their honor. On the day of the event, the hospital lobby was decorated with balloons and streamers. There were also several dog houses set up where people could donate food, toys, and other supplies to the animal shelter. At noon, Chester and Tucker were led into the lobby to the sound of applause. Everyone there wanted to pet the dog, including the mayor. After all, he was a local hero for helping raise money for such a worthy cause. When it was time for the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Chester was presented with a giant check for the amount raised. He accepted it with a big smile. Afterwards, he and Tucker took turns posing for pictures with people and their dogs. All in all, it was a very successful day. Not only did they raise money for the animal shelter, but they also spread awareness about the importance of pet therapy. As Chester watched all the people leaving with their donations, he felt a sense of pride. He and Tucker had made a real difference in the community, and it all started because they refused to let their age stop them from following their dreams. Years passed, and Chester and Tucker continued visiting the hospital on a regular basis. They missed exactly one day in 12 years. That was the day Chester died. He left this world knowing that he had made a positive impact on the lives of countless people. Before he passed, he told his wife, "I'm so glad I didn't listen to those idiots at the hospital." "Do you think Tucker misses me?" His wife smiled and patted his hand. "Of course he does. He talks about you all the time." Tucker outlived his owner by 5 years. Every time he went to the hospital without Chester, the staff and patients asked about him. The dog missed his owner dearly, but he knew that he was in a better place. When Tucker finally died at the age of 19, the hospital held a small ceremony in his honor. Everyone there loved the old Jack Russell Terrier, and they were sad to see him go. However, they also knew that he had lived a long and happy life, and he died doing what he loved, bringing joy to others. If you liked this story, please share it with your friends and family. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.